You guys met our new employee.
A couple times already.
Yeah, it's still being evaluated. We got a lot of work to do, but yeah. We're obviously our ad in the paper only got to a certain level because that's what we came up with. But obviously, appreciative to have Grant here helping us out, kind of bridging the gap between what you guys do and obviously his expertise here in the area with Marshall. First off, let's start off by saying congratulations to Coach Seals and the Huntington High School football team and program together for what they were able to do this weekend. Obviously, anytime you can win a championship at any level, it takes a lot of commitment, and those guys have done a really good job. So hats off to them. Obviously, extremely excited about the opportunity to play in a bowl game in general. I think anytime you can get another game added onto the end of your season, it's a positive for many reasons. Positive for the seniors, positive for the program, positive for the community. And we just kind of happened to hit the jackpot with, really good location, phenomenal opponent, and being able to extend this season, one more game. Our players are excited. Obviously, I know the fans, the destination hits home for us. One of the players said today when we let them know in the meeting that we'll probably have more fans in Myrtle than we will here in Huntington, just because of the amount of West Virginians that travel to Myrtle Beach, obviously. So really excited. This bowl committee does a really good job of putting this bowl on. It's one of the bowls that is well respected. Our administration has done a phenomenal job of getting us prepared to go. We've got a really good opportunity against a really good opponent. So we're excited. So with that, we'll open up with questions.
What excites you about UConn, just looking at them on the surface?
I think anytime you have a historical program, obviously there's history between us and them, back to 2015 before I arrived. This program has been a program, even when it wasn't at its peak, was always solid. I think Coach Moore has done a really good job this season. You look at where they've come over the last 2 or 3 years to where they are now. I think it speaks volumes about what he's done with that program. So it's going to give us an opportunity. Again, it gives us an opportunity to play an opponent that we may have not have scouted all year and kind of tracked all year, which to me helps you focus in a little bit more on what really matters, which is the film and the study and the preparation, not necessarily, we know they beat, this school in our conference and we didn't, So I think, again, anytime you get opportunity to play a solid program outside of your conference. Again, it allows you to focus in a little bit more on the details and what really matters, not the record, not who's who. So I'm excited to see our players really focus in on the details, what matters, X's and O's, how hard are we going to prepare, how well we play, and then how well we execute.
Coach, an initial look at UConn. They're 6-6, but they played tough teams, Michigan and NC State. So how do you guys prepare the next 2 weeks to get ready for a UConn team where it's one team that, look, they've had tough games, but 6-6 and not a bad year, first bowl appearance for them in a couple years.
Yeah, we typically don't look at records. I don't know if we looked at the record of the last game we played, but we typically don't look at records because I think it affects how you play. I think you got to look at the film, you got to look at their schemes, and you got to really focus on what do we need to do to play well. Obviously, we don't know their story throughout the year of what their record may be. So for us, we're going to have to really focus on what can we control. We can control the information that we have on them now. We can control the information that we've gained over our season. We've started to play a lot better the back half of the season. I talked to the guys about this being the second season now, taking that next step. Some younger guys have gotten some extra reps over these last couple of practices, preparation days. Obviously, we've got some guys who were able to kind of get healthy, just from the typical, 11, 12 game season. So I think it's going to be a positive. I think, again, when you just look at the things that you can control, which is the film, the information, not the record, or, well, they beat this team but didn't beat this team, or that team turned around and beat that team. I think it'll cause a little bit of confusion if you do that, and I don't want our guys confused or misled. I want our guys to prepare really hard. For us, it's the last game that this family is going to get a chance to play together, and I think we've got to do something to make it special.
What's the players' reaction been since they found out the interaction with you and them?
Yeah, they've been excited. I think anytime that they get to leave Huntington and go on a trip, it's kind of like your kids, right? You say you're going on a field trip, it doesn't matter if you're going to the candy store or the Disney World. It's like, we're going on a field trip. But again, I think this team is really close. And I think, again, an opportunity for them to be together one more week or one more, game week is going to be big. Stephen Gilmore has already said he knows he's got all the keys to the city and the area because that's where he's from. And anything we need, he says, go through him. But, again, when guys get to travel around the country and we get to do it as a family, normally we go on road trips. You're in, you're out, you're back home. You know what I mean? So it's really not a travel trip. You're in the hotel, you're focusing on your details, you go to bed, you wake up, you eat, you play the game. This opportunity, we'll get to spend a little bit of time together as a family. We'll get to interact our families and the rest of the administration with our football team, and we'll get to do it in a really good destination.
Kind of going off of that, bowl week is very different from other game weeks. Does it kind of help that you guys have some experience in that with going last year?
Yeah, I think anytime, especially when it's almost like, when you're in high school, you got to get permission slips to take kids off campus nowadays. But anytime we can take our family and do a family trip and be able to understand how to enjoy the trip, but also still understand what the goal of the trip is. One of the things I always talk about is be where your feet are. If you're on the beach, enjoy the beach. We're on the practice field, you got to enjoy the practice field. We can't let them blend together. We got to be able to be where our feet are. We got to be able to focus on the entertainment. We got to be able to focus on the fun. But we also got to understand we got to focus on the details and what we need to do in order to play well in the game. And I think last year's experience of that will help because there's a lot of guys on our team that know the routine, know the expectation. So there shouldn't be a lot of anxiety over what are they going to allow us to do, what are we allowed to do, those type of things.
Celebrate a football family, and I know bowl games now, there's been opt-outs in almost every bowl game. Any word yet on you guys, how many players you're expecting to opt out of this bowl game?
Yeah, no, we don't have that in our program. You sign up to play, and if the guy allows you to play, you play. Our guys, again, and I no disrespect to the young men who do that. I understand the reasons. But this family, we fight together. If your family gets in a fight, you're not going to opt out of it and say, hey, go ahead and whoop my cousin's tail while I stand over here. Not something that I've mandated, but just something that they've accepted and kind of stood on. And I think it says a lot about our guys. We get an opportunity to play the game we love. We don't know what may happen. I told the guys at the end of the year, I hope all of them, the seniors, get an opportunity to play 35 years in the NFL. But we don't know. So don't miss an opportunity to play the game you love with your family.
Coach, have you had an opportunity to maybe talk to some of those seniors, and what have they said about just knowing what their last game is?
Yeah, we did a kind of a senior what's next class the day after our last game. So we met Sunday, kind of gave them the schedule for the next few weeks until we got bowl destination and what the plan was, and then we held all the seniors back and we gave them kind of a checklist of, okay, this is what you do next. And we went through some of the things that they needed to start doing while they had a little bit extra time. And some of them, it was not a rude awakening, but it hit home that, this is it. When you start talking about transitioning out of your housing, most of these guys live off campus, moving out of your apartment, that's real. Like, I got to move into a real life situation now. Starting to talk about, gathering information about what am I going to do after the bowl game. Am I going to stay here and train? Am I going somewhere else to train? My parents having conversations with what direction we're going with representation when that time comes. Understanding, okay, now I've got all my stuff here in Huntington. How do I get it where I'm going? It's kind of like you're evicted now. We love you, but we need that apartment. You get out of here. So I think, again, whenever, you really start to dial it down, it hits home a little bit. We did hopefully a good job. We started talking about it a little bit earlier, so it wasn't like, oh, all of a sudden it's over. But it hit home, and some of the seniors are really, realizing that this is it. And hopefully their care and emotion for the final, game that they may ever play will lead to their leadership and getting guys to do the right things, so we can prepare really well.
It's a quick turnaround, and this is a program with not a common footprint with conference opponents and stuff like that. So what challenges does that present?
What's that again? I'm sorry.
So it's a quick turnaround. The 19th will be here before
Yeah,
we know
yeah.
it. And UConn is an independent team, so not in the footprint. What challenges does that present with that quick turnaround? Yeah,
obviously the challenge is being able to maximize the time that we do have. The beauty of a normal routine or game or schedule is you got 4 days. Whether you want it or not, whether you win, lose. You guys ask me questions about the quarterback, how many quarterbacks you're going to play. Grant gets a new job, whatever it is. You got 4 days. But this time, you got a little more than 4 days. So a lot of times what you see in bowl games, I talked to the team about this today, a few things happen. One, you go into the bowl game out of rhythm because you don't maximize the time in between whenever your bowl game is to get plenty of rest but stay in rhythm. or two, you go into a bowl game and you're tired because you did too much. So I think our model, we got a really good balance, and I think that will allow us to keep our routine similar. And if we can keep our routine similar, hopefully when we do get back in the flow of that 4-day window, we're back in the same flow as we were, the last month of the season.
Building off that, you talk about consistency a lot. So are you trying to make sure the schedule, it's a bowl game, it's important, but it's still a game?
Yeah, it's just as important as the Notre Dame game. It's just as important as the last game of the year. Everything that we've done, so we back it up, Monday, Sunday, Saturday, back it up and treat it just like a normal week. The things that we do on a Tuesday before game, we'll do on a Tuesday before game, and so on and so on. I told them today, it's a game. If they're going to keep score, the goal is to win. Doesn't matter where it's at, who it's against, but that's the goal. I think our seniors and our leadership will help us manage. You want them to have fun. That's part of going to a bowl game is you get that experience. You get to do those things. The bowls will have different events set up that they can enjoy. But the purpose of the trip is to win the game. And how do you do that? Well, you got to take advantage of the opportunity to prepare. When it's time to prepare, you're going to have some practice days. You're going to have some meetings. You got to take advantage of going out and playing really well. So that means you can't stay out, too late, enjoying the beach and all those things. You got to understand that this is a fun business trip. It's not just a fun trip. And I think our guys will do well.
More on the fun side of things, Commissioner Spears said that you guys have a couple things planned, like going to the aquarium, stuff like that. Just what else do you guys have planned?
Yeah, obviously the bowl will have, a handful of things, events that they like, to host and put on for our guys. We always try to find a couple extra things to do in the area. For example, last year we took the guys to a Pelicans game. A lot of those guys, the first time they've ever been to an NBA game. So when we kind of, map it out, we'll kind of find out what does the bowl have, and then we'll try to find one or two different things to give guys different experiences. I didn't even know today we got a handful of guys on the team that's never been to a bowl game. Some guys have transferred from schools that didn't go to bowl games. So trying to give them the experience, but also making sure that we kind of stay in a little bit of a rhythm or routine. It's not, we're on the practice field and they're talking about the great white shark they saw or whatever at the aquarium. So we got to do a little bit of both, and we'll be able to adjust.
You mentioned the guys that maybe haven't been to a bowl game before. You mentioned that these practices important for development in the future. How do you use this to set yourself up for next year?
Yeah, so the first half of the all the way up until today was all developmental work. We kind of didn't give guys a break, but we let the older guys coach the younger guys. So we did our normal practice. We went back to what we did in camp, the group, the indie, the sectional stuff, breaking it down into pieces, and we did it with the younger guys. Because what happens is younger guys, even if they're in the one or two deep as the year goes on, you don't put as much time into the fundamental with the young guys. You're just saying, hey, look, just be ready to play if something happens. And what we did was we kind of went back and broke it down, and we really spent a lot of time with the 2s and the 3s on our depth chart. So they got all the reps, and we let the older guys coach them. Then we started a little bit, because you got to keep your guys in routine. We did a little bit with the ones just to kind of keep them in rhythm, some base game plan stuff, base stuff that we would do against any team. Coming back, when we start practice this week, we will start true game plan prep. We like to have everything pretty much done before we leave, so that way when we get there, it's all review, if that makes sense. Good. Thanks, guys.